We know from our skies the American hardware we trust and depend upon for our defence. What is less well known is how much Americans trust and depend on Australian excellence. Over in the West, Aussie shipbuilder Austal now builds and supplies almost 15% of the US Navy. It's an extraordinary story in our bilateral relationship.
What Austal does is we really build the Ferraris of the ocean. Now, these are high-speed vessels. They're highly optimised, highly engineered for speed and for comfort. And the best design of one of those vessels is a catamaran-type vessel, and the best way to make those efficient is to make them out of a lightweight material like aluminium. So most vessels in the world, in fact almost all vessels in the world above a particular size, are made out of steel, but our vessels are made out of aluminium to make them much more efficient and therefore much faster than you would get from a steel ship. And that's what's really differentiated us from all the hundreds of other shipyards around the world.
Well, Austal is a great success story. They've been able to penetrate the US market. In fact, in some ways, I think they would argue that they've had more recognition from the Americans than they've had from the Australians. And in fact, I think President Trump, when he met the Prime Minister, gave him a replica of an Austal ship, which I thought was a bit ironic.
I think it was a tremendous gesture. It just shows the level of relationship between the countries that should happen, and how Austal is a kind of conduit for one part of that relationship.
Austal design excellent range of craft for the military, from smaller patrol boats, for example the Guardian class, which we're gifting to the region for their maritime security, through to our own Cape class vessels, of which we have just ordered another 6 for the Navy, and operated by Border Force, right through to large-scale littoral ships that the United States are operating. They design some of the world's best ships.
These unique design features and cutting-edge capabilities that Austal developed at its shipyard in Mobile, Alabama, propelled the US Navy to make a big order.
So we have active contracts to build 33 large vessels for the United States Navy, 19 littoral combat ships and 14 expeditionary fast transport vessels. So that's 33 vessels in total. Against the current size of the United States Navy, that's nearly 15% of the entire US Navy, which would have been built by Austal. And it's particularly of pride to us that LCS 30, which is the 15th vessel that we will build, is named the Canberra. I think the only ship in the United States Navy that is named after a foreign capital city. And is sponsored by Maurice Payne, who is the Foreign Minister, of course, in Australia. It's a unique position between Australia and the US, facilitated by the program that we have with the US Navy.
We have 2 littoral combat ships, the USS Gabriel Giffords and the USS Montgomery, operating out of Singapore right at this very moment. They're 2 ships made by Austal. And on a personal note, my own wife, Tracy, is the sponsor of the USS Kansas City, which we expect to commission quite shortly. So we're very proud of that platform, and I look very much forward to seeing more of them in the Western Pacific.
I think there are huge opportunities in the United States. You know, Congress has required that the United States Navy increases from its current size to a fleet of 355 ships in the future. That's around about a 20% increase to where they are today, and that the type and style of ship may well change over time with a more distributed type of network of ships. So this is relatively smaller ships, but more of them. That fits uniquely into Austal's capability. And I think one of the real areas that we're focused on as a company is the unmanned autonomous ship programs in the US. It wouldn't be a surprise to anyone that navies around the world are moving towards autonomous and unmanned vessels, and that the United States Navy is leading in that capability. And we in Austal are very involved in design processes both in the US and back here in Henderson around the technologies for doing exactly that. I think the future of naval warfare will be a number of manned vessels and then a much larger number of unmanned vessels which support those programs. We see that in the air domain, we see it in the land domain. I'm sure we're going to see it in the sea domain as well.